So, hey everyone, Joy's here again for her fortnightly balance. I think because the gut's been playing up so much, you know, since the radiation chemotherapy, and things just haven't repaired very well since then. So, I heard Dr. Sherry Tenpenny this morning. I was listening to an hour podcast with her, and she said there's only two things that cause disease. She said you either have an excess of something, so too much weight, too many toxins, too much alcohol, too much sugar, too much, basically too much of something, or you've got a deficiency of something. You know, not enough muscle, not enough minerals, not enough vitamins, not enough, so basically they're the two things that cause disease.
Right.
And I thought, isn't it funny? You hear these things and it just makes,
it does make
perfect sense.
But I've also noticed that a lot of people will suddenly get diabetes, MS, blah, 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 after a particularly, like I knew one man that got Huntington's or MS or something, like within a year of being attacked by 5 dogs and thinking...
Oh, stress is huge, absolutely.
And I've known also quite a few people that suddenly got the most dreadful diseases after their spouse died. I think Doug's sister May was probably one after Arnie died. And I think while Kevy was in hospital, his wife Dot actually had to be in hospital at the same time having a pacemaker put in, and at the time she was in hospital having the pacemaker, she hadn't gone home from having the pacemaker put in, and Kevy died, so clearly she was under a hell of a lot of stress at the time.
Yep.
And you also hear of lots of people who die on a spouse's anniversary, sometimes it'll be 10 years later. Oh shit.
There's a lot of weird coincidences, aren't there?
Well,
and I'm joking because I don't believe in coincidence.
Oh, I probably...
So I'm just saying your adrenal survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival are actually all going okay, but your base chakra is still blown. So it's like your survival mechanisms still don't think you're safe.
I don't know that it'd be like 3 people in the family died in
3 weeks?
Yes, less I think. Plus the man straight across the road and the man that until about a year ago had lived next door to me, all in January.
Now, oh wow. Yeah, okay.
I mean, your next door neighbour and the neighbour that separates you by the width of the street. But Mark, if any of them, if I'm going to feel guilty about any of them, it'd probably be Mark Love, because when Doug was in hospital, Mark came and mowed my lawn every week, and half the time I'd get home and they'd have a feed rating for me when I got home from the hospital.
How fabulous.
And because Mark's cancer was so much worse than my cancer, I didn't want to go and see him, because people keep telling me, because I've had all this treatment, I'm in the vulnerable set of people. Mark was 1,000 times more vulnerable than me.
Yeah.
And
what sort of cancer did he have, do you know?
One of the ones you never survive.
Like pancreatic or something?
Yes. It mightn't have been pancreatic.
Or liver. Liver and pancreatic are pretty bloody hard. Bowel isn't easy unless they can chop it out.
I don't think it was liver. It wasn't bowel. And Julie always drives her car in. Once she used to drive in one way and she'd get out of the car and check the letterbox and stuff, but since she started driving her car in the other side of the house, I virtually never set eyes on it.
Yeah, right. The base chakra is blowing your trust, so I know you're doing well with all your breast cancer treatment.
Oh, yes.
But losing, is that 4 or 5 people in January? Where's your trust with?
I don't know, though. I think it got blown a bit when between us we got 3 speeding tickets in January. I mean, I take
trying to keep you on the straight and narrow. Hold out for me.
Got the tickets happened in January. I mean, December.
They all arrived in January as the kick in the teeth. Yeah, the extra kick in the teeth you need.
I mean, I was shocked when I got the first one. Then bloody hell.
These weren't visits to the hospital, were they? Part of me wonders if you could write to them and say, this is what I've been going through, yada, yada, yada.
One was going to see you, coming to your house on Christmas Day or going home. The other one was going home from Gary's house on Boxing Day.
Bloody kids.
So then we kept looking in, but we didn't. We kept looking to think, and we didn't get any on the 27th after we'd gone to visit Ruby and Karen in Beenleigh.
And hold up for me.
Did you actually want me to hold up then? Did you give me the opportunity? That's all right. I was thinking I didn't put up a struggle then, and then you did it again. I thought no struggle would have come.
So, because you've had so much, your right side is pretty screwed at the moment.
Well,
but energetic,
that, the joint there, and my knee.
Yeah.
All hurt on, not all the time, but on. Now they probably take it in.
Do they feel better after yoga and Pilates, or do they feel worse?
Sometimes they feel bloody worse.
Yeah, sometimes they feel worse.
But, and of course, sometimes when you lie in your tummy doing some of the tummy poses, God, this tit is sore all bloody over them. Even though the poking and prodding me, they decided it was only in the underneath part, therefore we can blame bloody radiation. But really, it's not. It's
been going on too long.
By the time they poked you in the tit 40 times and you finally agree that something might have been the worst part, or that particular day they didn't poke the bit that hurts in the other part. What is it?
Yeah.
We've had 2 Januaries anyway. We must have just about had enough of bloody February to make it 14 months, I think.
Yeah, 2020 was bad enough. Here comes 2021. Oh,
yeah, so we'll kill every bastard off instead. I mean, honestly, with the deaths, Mark was a tragedy because he was only 59 and he was
wow.
And he was a bloody good man. He wasn't just a good man in the sense that he was a terrific husband to Julie. He cooked half the meals, he did all sorts of things because he was just a wonderful man. And pig-headed bastard, but he was a wonderful man.
Nothing wrong with that.
But he was really...
Men can be men.
I forgot to go to his bloody funeral yesterday. Shit, I felt so embarrassed. I meant to go to his funeral and I forgot to tell Doug to wake me up, so I was sound asleep when the funeral happened.
Oops.
Well, yes.
Sleep's important though. Hate to say it. If anyone needs sleep. Yeah, that's good.
But I don't think people realise just how, even though I'm not particularly sick, how sick I am.
Yeah.
We
know you're sick. No, the exhaustion. Yeah.
Well, there's something wrong with me. And I can't breathe. I mean, I think I've got a permanent disability parking space thing now for...
I'll put your chest up.
Chronic
obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD.
I haven't got emphysema. I haven't got lung cancer. I don't know if this is a problem. I think Margaret has asthma.
So something easy that's easy on the gut, and I know you don't want any more supplements, but I would always have some vitamin A or D at home. And anytime you feel, because A and D are really important for the lung tissue, they're both easy on the gut because
what's the milligrams?
At least 1,000 international. Well, vitamin D tends to come in 1,000 international units here in Australia, but you need like 4 or 6. So it's sort of like every time you open your vitamin D, take 3 or 4 because they're easy on the gut. And they're fat soluble, which means that you store excess in your liver, and then it's there for when you... So
is that good?
Yeah, so the liver stores fat soluble vitamins.
What about iron? Only have that when you've got an iron deficiency.
Maybe we should do another oligo scan on you one day. That's the thing that gives us a readout of the, it's like $90 or something. but you know, that's the one that gives a readout of the minerals and toxins in your body. So yeah, right, I don't think we've done that since you've had all your cancer and chemo radiation.
Well, it might be a good idea. And
yeah.
I think that, I don't think the $90 will probably kill me. Did I tell you I've got a person who committed suicide over a girlfriend? The girlfriend is now doing the housework.
Yeah, yes, yes. I know who you're talking about.
But I think Katie's going to be doing my bathrooms.
Okay.
The other one would have been happy to do them, but for some unknown reason, Carmel made some arrangements that just haven't happened yet.
Cool.
But they're starting on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I did finally get over all the January shit and make an appointment with the physio.
Because COPD, the other stuff that can mess with your lungs, are things like, you know, obviously wearing masks will stop you from being able to get enough oxygen. Things like molds, you know, around the place, they can get into the lungs and cause CIRS, chronic inflammatory respiratory syndrome.
Oh, well, I've got the blue moldiest bathroom on Christendom, haven't I?
So I don't know whether it's worth getting that cleaned and painted. Sometimes you can't paint the mold out of it.
I can ask somebody about it. Who would you ask?
You'd have to get a painter who knows what they're doing, because otherwise you need them to do it 3 or 4 times. So, because I had a client who had mold, and they actually kept putting up, having it cleansed with all of the anti-mold stuff, and then would put up wallpaper. It would come through the wallpaper within like 3-4 weeks. They would clean, they'd rip it down. The manufacturers claimed that the wallpaper actually had anti-mold stuff in it, so it shouldn't have happened. But I know painters who have had to do it 3 or 4 times, and then people quickly sell the house while it's clean.
I don't particularly want to sell my house.
No, I know you'll stay there forever.
But I could possibly employ somebody to put new walls in it.
That's what I was thinking.
Kate, if there was any mould in Katie Barton's bathroom, she won't have any. She'll have the best bathroom of all of my flats and houses.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a thought, because that can really mess with your lungs. So CIRS, C-I-R-S. And I think about 80% of CIRS is about molds, and it creates like a inflammation, so chronic inflammatory.
Right. See, I didn't get told any of this.
Do you think doctors are going to tell you? Pretty much all they say is stop smoking. You go, yeah, I haven't smoked in 30 years. You know, so they're very targeted.
I think it might be more than that. I stopped in 88.
I was throwing it out there. Let's check mold and mold spores. And hold. 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 Yeah. I had one of my clients who had mold on an outdoor visor, you know, so like an outdoor curtain blind, but outside his bedroom window. And it wasn't, he had no mold inside the house, but it wasn't until it took after, because he just kept having these moldy things all over his back. And
moldy things?
Mold. So you get these funguses on your, sorry, fungus. The fungus mold spores, they're the same sort of family.
Have I got any that you can see?
No, but that's, yeah, but you've got the lung issue. You don't have to exhibit the symptoms in the same way. But it took about 6 months after he had them removed for us to clean up the mold spores in his body.
Oh.
And then the fungus just started to disappear.
I thought mold spores were only something that people that had a lease would just complain about because they like complaining about shit. You have a look at the house and you have a look at my house and think, Christ, I've got more than them.
But some people have symptoms, some people don't. And if it's dead mold, then often it doesn't cause problems. But also with
How would you know
dust, well, is it still growing? You know, do you clean it off and it grows back?
Stuff to grow.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the point, you know. So if you don't know whether it's...
Have you seen me clean that many walls?
No. So, well, that's how you know. So when we were up in Cooktown, when we would get back after, you know, our month-long holiday at Christmas time, because it was hot, it was humid, and that house was filled with mould, everywhere had mould again.
Ah.
So we would have to go through with it. And in hindsight, because I didn't know very much in those days, the kids were really little, and, you know, we just used the old mould cleaning stuff, but of course they're toxic as well.
Well, see, I can't use the mould things because I can't breathe with any
Exactly.
of them. And I couldn't, when people used to use the spray deodorants, I couldn't use the bathroom after them. I also can't use the bathroom. I have to have the window open so that everyone next door can see me. I'm an exhibitionist like that. No, I don't have a shower curtain. But otherwise, something from the hot water.
Yeah.
I know that all the things I say are ridiculous.
Well, no. The chlorine in hot water turns into chloroform when you heat it. Yeah. So if you're sensitive to chloroform, that's when you feel faint and weak after a shower.
Chloroform, is that what it turns into?
Yeah.
No wonder I can't bloody breathe. I usually leave the door partly open so the cats and dogs. No, I don't. Oh, shit.
Is your eye hurting?
Yes.
Why?
I might need a glass of water. I don't know. Sometimes I get pain in the eye. Sometimes I get a pain here.
Do you want a glass of water?
It's gone away.
It's gone away? Okay.
I touched it with my magic fingers.
Okay, you did some Reiki on yourself. Very nice.
Well, I didn't know I did Reiki. I just...
Okay, so in relation to mould and mould spores. Yeah, so dust can be about 50% mould as well.
That doesn't usually bother me in my house. I leave it sit still and it leaves me sit still.
It leaves you alone. Let's check dust and
However,
dust.
now we've got a cleaner, I suppose it'll start coming up again.
So dust and dust mites.
I know I'm allergic to dust in great quantities like in Charleville.
Hold.
Which means I would never ever want to go and live back out west.
Yeah.
So now I wouldn't go to Charleville unless I took a whole lot of bloody antihistamines and shit.
Yeah,
so
right.
that I did. And I mean, when you get really bad hay fever and you're sitting down and all of a sudden you hurt your head on your knees when you sneeze, so... I don't know what had happened now. I don't know that I can... My head and knees connect anymore. But that was after I stopped trying to do ladylike sneezes, after I busted my zip, my button and everything else, and when my
dust and dust mites.
When my skirt, when I stood up at the council meeting and my skirt, the town planner grabbed my skirt and said, "Hey mate, something's happened." He said, "Your skirt's disappearing." So anyway, so I managed to get it. My blouse was long enough to hide everything with some safety pins, and I've never stifled a sneeze since.
Yeah.
So
not worth it.
If the communists or the Germans or someone are going to get you, whatever else you read about when you can't sneeze.
Your body's having an issue dealing with all the histamine as well. So your body's having a hard time releasing the histamine.
What's the histamine?
Histamine's from allergies. So when your body has an allergy to dust or when your body has an allergy to molds, so then histamine can build up in the body, in the brain or the gut or
so
the
how do
uterus.
you release it?
Digestive enzymes.
Oh, I told you I wanted them today anyway. Come after me.
And funnily enough, there's an old-fashioned cancer treatment where you use digestive enzymes between meals, because quite often the gut is so out of kilter when it comes to cancer that sometimes having digestive enzymes between meals just helps to break down old gunk that's built up in the digestive tract and helps to start getting it out so that the gut can heal better.
You mean there's gunk hides in there and other stuff what goes around it?
Yeah. So stuff like this.
I don't know if I want to look at it. It's almost what? What?
Mm. It's not poo. It's hardened mucoid plaque.
Shit, Rick. Oh, boy.
So to speak. Yes. Yeah.
Great.
That's why naturopaths love poop.
Do they? And is that what comes away when you fast for 72 hours?
No, that's a really specific thing. You've got to break that down because it's really hard. It's like hard chewing gum or like rope or you know you tar. Yeah, it's sort of like it's pretty hard and narky. So I used to have a cleanse that we did, and then they changed the formula and it doesn't work as much. But it used to be a cleanse where you needed 80 capsules a day. But what it did was give the body the enzymes to break it down, as well as the fibre to create like a big sweeping broomy motion in there, as well as detox support for the liver and kidneys and lymphatics and blood. But it's a crap load of tablets.
I'm kidding. You wouldn't need to eat anything if you're having 80 tablets.
Mm.
What do you use now?
Yeah, these days I do it in a more slower way. I've got a friend in New Zealand who's got a new supplier of something similar, and she reckons it's better than after they changed. So I might get onto her and see if I can get more in, because it's a neat, tidy little cleanse. And the first time Jay and I did it was when we stopped being vegetarian and started eating meat. So maybe we'd been eating meat for about 2 years again after being veggie for 20 years. So neither of us had anything particularly nasty or gunky, which, you know, given we weren't the best vegetarians, we still loved our cheese pizzas and, you know, it's easy to be a bad vegetarian.
Well, Tootie and Beth might, I mean, by and large, they're not bad vegetarians.
Okay, I'm going to check a hormone called DAO. Hold up, good, perfect. And hold, no, relax, that's it. And hold up, excellent. Optimal levels of DAO. And hold, okay. And hold, okay. So DAO is the enzyme we need to help us release histamine. But that hardened plaque and damage to the villi, so the villi in the intestines.
I know what the villi are.
Yep, so they make lots of enzymes.
I used to look at villi when I was in the...
working at the meatworks.
And what was tripe, in the tripe room. I know lots about, and you have to, and all of the little villi that had actually got cobbler's pegs and sticks and all sorts of other things that were in cattle guts.
Yep.
You had to cut them out because you weren't allowed to send the tripe.
So
painkillers. All of those
painkillers.
things had to come out before you sent it off to the butchers.
So painkillers can destroy the villi. Antibiotics can destroy the villi. For some people, gluten, and you're a gluten girl, gluten can destroy the villi. So,
Why do you mean I'm a gluten person?
Oh, because you can't do gluten without pain. Yeah.
But so unfortunately, it took me a long time to get to that stage. So obviously,
because
I ate a limited amount.
And certainly painkillers and antibiotics are two things that they've absolutely shown that the villi, it's sort of like, does two things actually. It nips at the top off the villi, and then it suppresses the mucus to the lower parts of the villi. So bit by bit we end up with these mucus-filled gaps between the villi.
That'd be useful.
Which means that we're releasing less and less enzymes, so you end up being more and more intolerant, not emotionally, physically, of foods and things as we get older. Unless we're cleaning, you know, that's why naturopaths work so much on getting the gut health right.
Well,
but it's stuff
I
like... I
firmly suspect that a lot of the yoga I'm doing, which is supposed to be on gut health and stuff, possibly helps. I only did one downward dog.
I don't know whether or not those PPIs mess with the protein pump inhibitors like Nexium and Pariet and Somac. I'm not sure whether they destroy the villi in the intestines, but they were only ever approved for 3 months use. And people, once they're on them, tend to be on them for the rest of their life. So, but the original studies, and I've heard doctors talk about this at Congress over the years, and they sort of, you know.
I went off them for quite a few years, but I was on them for years. And then I stopped using them. But I usually have to go back on them when things get too bad. They think I have heart attacks or something.
Yeah, yeah. No, and even just getting yourself back on the straight and narrow until you don't need them again. I think these things are much better going on and off rather than being on constantly.
No, I don't take them every day. I probably try to...
Okay, I'm going to ask your immune system. So what drugs are you taking for pain? Is it just Panadol or Panadol Osteo or...
Panadol, Osteo and... Honestly,
okay, just a sec. I'll ask in relation to Panadol Osteo.
I think that's what it is.
And hold. 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 Hold up. Hold up. Okay, so Panadol Osteo is messing with your stomach energy, which means you're not going to be breaking down your proteins as well. I think that's partly because digestion is an inflammatory process. You've got to create inflammation to digest your food. So when we're taking anti-inflammatories, things that control pain, we're accidentally switching off some functions in the body that are inflammatory in a good way. So fighting a virus or a bacteria is an inflammatory process.
I wouldn't have thought I've
digesting
had antibiotics since the last time I had a little bit of...
Oh, cellulitis?
Yes.
Yeah. No. Well, this was painkillers anyway.
But I don't think I've had antibiotics. I mean, really.
Okay, so in relation to Panadol Osteo, just trying to get the body to recognise that it can work simultaneously. Let me check if there's any other organs that the Panadol Osteo is messing with. Small intestine as well. That's the quadricep muscle. Hold up for me. That one's okay. Hold up for me. Yeah, not so okay. Interesting.
Should have been the other way around.
That's exactly what I thought.
Mind you, it did hurt when I kept this one up.
You might have recruited some other muscles.
Oh, quite likely.
Panadol Osteo.
Not that I know how to recruit a muscle.
Hold. No, it happens subconsciously.
Apparently I recruit a lot of muscles to do the work of other things that won't work properly.
You get told that in Pilates.
Oh, maybe it was a bloody...
Physio?
Somebody.
Okay, so this side pelvic floor muscles are showing
I
up.
haven't done Pilates for a while. We haven't got a Pilates teacher present.
Okay.
That will be yoga.
Hold up.
Oh!
Okay. And hold up. No.
Mind you.
Just out of curiosity, hold up. Hold up. Yeah. It said that one was okay and this one wasn't. I was just checking.
This one has got a crook hip.
Yeah.
And it's mostly the hip rather than the knee, but I think when the hip gets too bad, then the knee takes on a bit of the blame.
Yeah.
But I'm terribly worried because this one has gone back so much. Actually, this has gone back as well.
I thought they were both doing a bit better once you started the physio.
They were, but over Christmas, I don't know what happened. But over Christmas, they all...
Did you put on a bit of weight over Christmas?
Oh, no,
I know when my BMI gets up to about 27, 28, my pain levels go up.
I have no idea what my BMI is, except it'd be frigging disgusting. I'm as fat as I've ever been, I think.
Hold up for me. Hold up for me. That's better.
Oh. But because I'm so tired, I'm flat out getting out of my own bloody way.
Yeah.
God help us, and sometimes I'm a quarter of an hour late for bloody yoga because I'm in the car park and it takes me that long to go to the stairs.
Yeah, right.
At least no one has been walking up behind me anymore because they thought I was going to fall over.
Yeah.
But they've done that Bargy, you know, and a few other people have.
Yeah.
And I said, and sometimes I said, you can go ahead of me. They said, I'm going behind you to make sure. I thought they wanted to get past.
Yeah, they don't want to get squashed either, do they?
I try to have the tablets for indigestion and reflux on the days that I do yoga.
Oh, yeah?
Because
so that you can get through the yoga class better.
Without reflux.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that sounds like a plan.
And so if I manage to get them down to 3 times a week, which I wouldn't tell my provider, of course, instead of Doug and I have some interesting.
Just gently relax.
Interesting. I asked him to get me some asthma medication because I was having trouble with that and I really didn't feel up to going and organising myself to see the doctor. Anyway, about 4 days later I said to him, I'm really surprised the chemist didn't give you bloody asthma medication. He said, well, I didn't ask him to. I said, well, I did. I asked him to go and get it for me. He said, oh, I just asked him what medications you were out of and he sent me back a note saying that I had no prescriptions for any of them. So I went in, you know, the next day on my way home from going to Peak Monday, because it must have been maybe Thursday, Friday, but I didn't find out this until the shops were shut on Friday, so I couldn't get it or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, on my way home on Monday, I went in and got it without a prescription. Of course, it was fine. What the fuck did he think I'd ask him that for? And I needed the stuff. I was having trouble dealing. I know that you shouldn't. Well, if you can't breathe,
Are you still getting the dropsy in your hands?
Sometimes.
Okay. Hold your thumb and pinky together. Hold. No. Hold your thumb and ring finger together. Hold. No. Thumb and middle finger. No. Thumb and pointer. Hey, one's working.
I've still got a stiff neck, but at least it's not sore.
Okay. I'll get up there in a sec.
I don't usually have all this with bloody jewellery and stuff, New
yeah.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
Those people still up there.
I know. And again. Thumb to pinky, hold, that's better. Thumb to ring, hold. Thumb to middle, hold. Thumb to ring, hold. Beautiful. So, yeah, so the shoulder was slightly out of its little joint.
Only slightly. I thought it might have been missing altogether.
Yeah.
It's been, oh God. Go past Doug a plate with my hand that's closest to him and I have to get my hand that's furthest away from him. Because this one either won't pass it that far or won't, can't pick it, isn't confident in picking up something as heavy as a plate.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know why I do think I know why my shoulder deteriorated, but it's nothing that's sensible. I was leaning back on the pillow, and even if it was the rolls that they have at the thing, it would have been that high.
Yeah.
And I slipped off.
Yeah, right.
And I think that I put, that arm landed wrong. And I think that's when it got worse.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't know how to, and then everyone kept dying every other, it happened in January and...
Sorry, I did mean to laugh.
But they did. It just was bad enough when Doc died, but at least we did know she was in whatever.
Palliative care.
Yes. Then Barry died and we knew he was in palliative care too, but they really thought he'd survive and...
Well, funnily enough, there is some base chakra stuff linked in with your shoulders, which is about not feeling safe and secure. So energetically, yeah, it's messed with your shoulders
And I can't get my finger, once I could do this with both sides, but now I'm flat out getting my fingers to be behind myself to scratch the middle of my back and that sort of shit.
Yeah, right.
And one, I certainly couldn't get, you know, say right over the top and left from the bottom or the other way around. One side certainly missed by about that much.
Yeah.
The other one I could still at least get my fingers together. But that's all not possible anymore. And that pisses me off. Because I think that some of my goals in life is to be able to do my bra up at the back. I mean,
it's a little thing, but yes.
Doing your bra up at the back actually means that you've got much better shoulder mobility than half my friends who are 10, 20 years younger.
Yeah. Has your physio given you some exercises for that?
Oh, for God's sake, I've only just...
Hold
He's
together.
been doing my elbows.
Hold together.
The things
Hips.
down, hips.
Hold together.
Figured out.
The opposite. Bursa, maybe?
He's been doing my down here. And that's deteriorated out of sight too.
Yeah, Louise Hay talks about the hips, about moving forward, you know, so if you're planning for a funeral every third day, you know, it's not really about looking forward to a bright future, is it?
Well, I didn't want to go to Dot's funeral. I love Dot. Because I'd have to wear a mask. It was when Logan was shut down.
Oh, yeah, no,
here.
you can't do that.
And I said to Doug, I just can't go.
Yeah.
And we found out that Gary Drescher can't wear one either, but of course he still smokes, so it could have had something to do with it.
Yeah.
And
no, it's just not worth putting yourself in that position.
that was, and I thought, well, and if I got to the cram and Doug wasn't close enough to actually get inside, he would have died on the 13th of January in the car park.
Hold on.
And
Okay, so this is radiation and radiation toxicity. So it's still in there creating inflammation within your immune system.
I wouldn't be surprised if the bloody anaesthetic isn't still there.
Oh yeah, good thinking. I'll check that next.
But
Yeah, that'll make you tired, especially if it
when Doug told me all his requirements and how often he'd have to stop, you know, he thinks, oh, stop for an hour or so and he could walk around and then you could drive again. That's all right for him as far as he's concerned. That way I get no sleep and no rest. And anywhere you stop on the side of the road is not comfortable.
So let's ask anaesthetics.
Jimmy certainly would have given us a bed for the night, but then I would have had to have another stop between me and Biggin.
Yeah. Too hard basket.
Wow, God. I wasn't prepared to stay overnight, bloody 3 or 4 nights to get to bloody. I mean, I just decided I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no.
My body couldn't do it.
Well done.
And that might have been able to do it. And you'd have to find the dog, someone to mind the dog and the cats and even chooks and birds and everything for bloody 5 days or 4 days.
Yeah.
Anyway, and Doug decided that he thought that, then he decided he didn't think he should go unless we had a second driver. I said, what's the driver? It's my sleeping habits that would stop me from driving, not my second driver would probably just scare me shitless. Could he stop scaring me shitless driving my car? I think the main reason is because he stopped being frightened of my car.
Yeah, right.
Because he doesn't do much driving.
Yeah.
Especially not other people's cars. But he's finally come good with driving my car. Mind you, sometimes I've made him drive me with him.
Let me
to
check
get the groceries.
cortisol
What the
issues.
fuck is that?
One of the main inflammatory hormones that your adrenal glands release when you're in pain or stress. The adrenals make 62 hormones. Cortisol is just one of them, but it's one of the main drivers of
The way my arms are
inflammation.
not hanging up good.
Your body doesn't like it.
Right. I've also, of course, been worried about Doug because I didn't think that Ruby probably would have died if Barry hadn't have died. I think that the shock might have actually been too much for her.
And there's 4 of them left now?
Yeah.
Out of 12 or 13?
No, there are only 10 of them. They're mainly little family, not like the Shields estate.
Oh, right, okay.
In a normal family, 10 is big.
I was going to say that's still 20% of your family members in the last month.
Yes.
Mm. And it's a big hole.
Oh. And I suspect might have been number 1 and number 2 in the heart stakes. The others probably don't want to hear that, but if you're ever going to visit anyone, you had to go and visit with Barry. And Barry had, you know, like when Barry and Peter turned up with the carload of calves, trailer full of calves from the Bow Desert sale, came round. Oh, and Sterling and Carmel were there. And Carmel was probably the only one of my kids that knew Barry and Peter anyway, because we stayed with Barry, and of course Peter was at home.
Yeah.
Don't think he's ever lived anywhere else. When Carmel passed, when Carmel applied for her first job.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I think you're just about cooked. So yeah, anesthetics are still showing up, radiation's still showing up. Like, yeah, all that lung stuff, that's just yucky, you know, sort of like, you know, the molds and the mold spores and fungus and, you know, so no wonder you need your asthma sprays regularly.
I still don't even understand my asthma sprays, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Because I forget what Michael Rice said last time I was there, and they must have had Bricanol for me.
Oh, Bricanol, yep.
And then now it's Spiriavet or Espiriavet or such shit. Anyway, but I said something about Michael maybe he thought I should have 2 puffs of it in the morning. We usually have 1.
Yep.
I'm not entirely certain that's sensible, but anyway. However, he said something about the Bricanol, was I still using it? I said, I haven't used it since you put me onto the other stuff. And he said, I didn't say to stop using it. I think, well, it never occurred to me that if you give me something, you'd expect me to take the other stuff. I mean, it just wouldn't. If you put me onto something, it wouldn't occur to me that you still have the other one for when you have one in the morning, apparently.
Yeah.
But if you told me that, obviously my brain doesn't encounter that, or I don't read all the instructions on the packet because they're...
Yeah, so one will be acute and one will be long-term, I think, will be the idea.
Well, I think the acute one is if you need it when you get to the top of the steps.
Well, let me ask around steroids as well. Because steroids, you know, can also mess with the immune system. Yeah.
I don't know what a steroid is.
So one of the asthma drugs is a steroid. So it's anti-inflammatory, but once again, it's shutting down inflammation that potentially might be messing with other things. Breathing is good, however. You know.
If I want to breathe, though, I'm sure when I want to breathe, sometimes I think the Vicks inhaler is probably the best one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't know how they...
I know you're not going to do it, but it would be good if you started doing the Wim Hof breathing.
I haven't deleted it. It's still there. I just
know.
haven't got energetic.
Because that helps to empty the lungs so the carbon dioxide is totally released, which allows more oxygen into the lungs to help it to heal. So the lungs work better because part of the Wim Hof breathing is breathing in then breathing out. Slower, and breathing in and breathing out. So by doing that, you're expelling all of the carbon dioxide completely from the lungs.
What's the difference in that for breathing in and counting to 30 and then breathing out, then having a rest for 30, then breathing out very slowly for 30?
During your yoga? Oh, it's probably quite similar.
Ah, okay.
Do you feel like you breathe better after yoga?
People ask you things like that at the beginning.
And you've got no idea? No, that's okay. Just curious.
Or when they tell you to do all your breathing like this.
Oh yeah, the alternate nostril breathing. Yeah, so alternate nostril breathing is about helping the connection between left and right sides of the brain. And,
Right.
And it also helps to boost the immune system.
And one of my nostrils has always been pretty shit.
So you always sound...
That one, you never get a good supply out of that nose.
Yeah.
This one, it's
Yeah.
not good. Neither of them are good anyway.
Yeah.
If you want
But it's about getting the oxygen to go like that. So it's going left, right, right. So even if it sounds as dodgy, it's still worth doing it.
Right.
Okay.
And we probably only do that once every bloody 3 months when someone does it.
Yeah. So steroids are, yeah, okay.
Anyway, I don't never think of doing that at home.
Your poor little lungs.
I don't think I've ever had pneumonia or anything. I think the only thing I ever had was that dry stuff when you were a baby. Pleurisy.
Yeah, right.
Is that dry lungs?
You had pleurisy.
When you were a baby.
Right.
I mean, when we got
Okay,
married.
let me ask about any and all
When we
scar
went,
tissue
when we
in the
went to
lungs.
Monica's wedding,
Hold back for
yep,
me.
in Roma, and then I went on the good strain to
Hold back for me. Not too bad.
Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
which was dreadfully uncomfortable. It took 12 hours for Roma to Charlotte or
Mm-hmm.
something. However, quite frankly, I didn't think I could possibly stand being in a car.
Any and all
It
scarring
was
in the
bad
lungs.
enough when there were just us, but if I was going to have all of my brothers and sisters and you and Jimmy and David in one car, my survival instincts did, even if Mum was...
It said, no, don't do it.
Well,
Fair enough too.
I know that it was okay and it was acceptable and there were no seatbelts, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I just hated... I don't think I could breathe in the car, whether you had the window open. Never worked out if it was worse. We probably all had the windows open, but I just hated being in a car with
Toxic
1,000
residue.
people in it. I don't know why.
Hold back.
It's probably uncomfortable because you probably
Not bad.
always had so many bloody...
This is toxic residue in the lungs. So that same tar-like stuff that can build up in the intestines, that can also build up in the lungs.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you know, like, and I know it's been forever since you stopped smoking, but that sort of stuff, you know, the same sort of stuff can happen just by, like, you've never coped very well even going into the city. You know, you used to get headaches and stuff.
I did, yes.
Any toxic residue. And hold back. And hold back.
I very rarely go into the city and I don't seem to have that problem with going to the PA hospital, as far as I can recall.
Yeah.
I don't come into you or going to Tooties.
Yeah.
And I haven't been in the city for bloody ages.
Yeah.
If you had a look in Joya's room lately, however wide the room is, the fan is about that wide.
Yeah, right.
Mind you, the one about 90 or 120 feet wide in the big hall, St Mary's School Hall now. It's a
Hold up for me. No, I didn't think that one would work. Hold up for me. Okay. That's the glutes on the right.
So I improved my glutes.
Hold out. Yeah, so on the left they're really good.
Well, this one can't do a lot of things. I can't even try a lot of the exercises I could do for it because it's a very... the pain is with yoga they say you shouldn't have acute pain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get into a position, of course, you get acute pain immediately.
Yeah.
And you get out of the position, but sometimes the residue of the pain seems to hang about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so once again, the muscles on the side, the glutes. Oh, let me check that, Dorsey. Hold in for me. No, that's good. Hold in for me. Good. That's about the spleen, pancreas, blood sugar.
So that's all right?
Yep. Femur's in its spot. Fasciolata was out. QL's right. Okay, so about 5 muscles weren't supporting that hip. And the bone was out slightly. Okay, good. Fly on the wall treatment. We're done.
Excellent.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you again soon.